to Nim and Nylene's Nightmare Cottage, where we discuss dark locations, sinister media, and other tales of the macabre. I'm Nim.
And I'm Nylene. Let the nightmare begin.
Disturbing and mature content to follow. Into the nightmare, if you dare.
And a good nightmare to you.
Hello, all you cool cats and kittens.
No. I'm going to veto that one.
We're not allowed to do cool cats and kittens.
I'm not ever going to say you're not allowed to do anything.
All you ghoul friends and grifters. Okay, I'm done. So how's life?
I mean, good. I mean, as good as it can be. I broke my cute orange glasses.
No.
I'm really sad.
Oh yeah, they're green today.
Yeah. They just fell apart. Not fixable. And I can't find them to reorder them.
Do you even know where you got them from?
I got them from Zenny. They don't have them anymore.
See, okay, I don't know how, you get them from Zenny, because I've heard a few people do stuff like that, but, because you have to pay for, the actual lens, and I don't know about you, but after, I get through my, lens prescriptions, it's usually, $200-something, and I'm like, what if I don't like the way they look?
So, because the frames are so cheap usually, if that's a concern, get the super basic version as a backup pair.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you hate them, you don't have to worry about it. If I do my basic prescription without blue light, which is what makes mine expensive because I want to have the blue light.
Yeah.
If I get it without the blue light, they're real cheap. It doesn't add anything because my old lady eyes aren't complicated enough yet to require both bifocals or anything like that yet. So
you don't need the blue light. If without the blue light, I get worst migraine.
These ones have blue light. My orange ones did not because those were my at-home glasses, and I don't do as much screen time at home as I do at work. So
really,
I mean, I didn't when I ordered those glasses originally.
I was gonna say, are you not playing Monster Hunter and reading on your iPad? Does that not emit blue light?
Well, I would say that the only thing that I really mess with at home, so my phone and my laptop, which I use my laptop a lot more now than I did. But
did I just make you realize your whole life is a lie?
No, I already knew my whole life was a lie. But yeah, so that's my sadness is I can't replace my glasses that I love with the ones that I wanted because they were, they made me feel cute and not a lot does that. So I really like those. So now I've got to find something new. It at least forced me to go to the eye doctor and upgrade my prescription.
Yeah, I don't know how long it's been, but I know I need a new prescription.
I only went because my glasses fell apart. How are you?
Surviving as a boy mom. This week alone, he has busted his knee up pretty bad. Got a pretty bad scrape up on his knee.
Aww.
I mean, he gets up pretty fine.
Did you make it better?
His grandparents did. So yeah, he's just been asking for Band-Aids. So I bought some Paw Patrol Band-Aids because he loves those. Yeah, and then, he ended up with a big bruise because he doesn't look where he's walking, and he just, runs into things all the time.
Same.
He collided with someone on the playground, so he had a huge welt on his cheek and, a black mark there.
Aww.
And then he fell off a stool at school and busted his lip. He had a fat lip. It looked aggressive. But yeah, I mean, he's always fine, shortly after, but it looks like we beat him. It really does. If anyone didn't know us, they would think we beat that child.
It looks like he's a 3-year-old kid who is testing the boundaries of physics in all the ways.
My family is just so concerned. They're like, they're not even watching him. I'm like, he's a kid. He's gonna run into things.
I wonder if our parents in the 80s and 90s kept as close an eye on us. I remember being quite free, so I don't know.
Same. And I brought that up to my mother too before. I'm like, I honestly don't know where you were half the time. She was like, we were always watching you. I was always watching you. I'm like, sure. I'm sure you were. 100%. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. When I was out in the woods, I'm sure you were there. But yeah, so just that, and I'm really sad because I haven't had any time to monster hunt because
yeah, me too.
I was working on this other story, which I will get there one day, but I actually bought a book and everything, and it's really good, but it's very graphic. I got the audio, and the audio is great, but I can't listen to it in the car because Bash is there.
Yeah, fair.
And I can't listen to it at work because, like, I don't know, it gets real graphic and I, like, find myself just kind of staring off into space.
Getting too focused on it.
Yeah.
And ignoring your job.
Exactly. So I was like, So it's just like having to find time. It just doesn't feel right to like be in the shower, relaxing to that. So, you know, we'll get there, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough. I do that. I've got several subjects that like I dipped into them, and when I got there, I was just like, I have to do this justice, and I have to spend more time on it if I'm going to do it at all. I've got a couple that I've been working on, and we'll eventually hopefully get to, and they'll, you know, have an obnoxiously long story.
Fair enough. What else? What else? What else? Is there a spirit on the ceiling? I don't know.
Well, yeah, but
well, Bash did used to say there was, what was it? It was Fan Man.
Fan Man. I remember that.
Fan Man.
Yeah, that's great.
He would point to the ceiling and laugh and say "man," and we were like, "Oh, that's the Fan Man." It was really creepy.
Yes. And he's been seeing ghosts here, so...
Listen, don't do that to me.
It's what he told me.
Okay, he was probably talking about his TV show.
He said it was outside in the backyard.
Why is the ghost outside in the backyard? Why wouldn't it come inside?
I'm not the ghost police, I don't know.
Do you think ghosts get cold?
Like, I have 10 different ways to answer that.
Choose one.
Well, provided... I mean, I would assume that they are cold. Like, they exist as cold. If they exist, which I don't believe they do.
But, like, do you think they get hot or cold like we do?
I don't believe that would be a thing if that was a thing. If ghosts can be a thing, that means they are residual energy from what was left. And, I mean, I guess energy can change.
Right? Like, what do they do during hurricanes?
Hold on for dear life so they don't get blown away.
I was going to say, do they get blown into, like, another place?
I mean, I assume they're just, like, sheets, right? So, yeah.
Oh my god, I'm just imagining ghosts being, like, blown into another state.
Yeah, so, like, if you see a tornado with a bunch of sheets, you think that it was actually, like, somebody, like, a clothesline that got hit, but no, it's actually all the ghosts.
That's all the ghosts.
Yeah. I love that, actually.
Oh, that sucks. Like, they just, like, stick to their new spawn point now, like...
like, new spawn point. I love that.
Anyways, so that's my life right now. I feel like I get on here and I'm like, my life is horrible. It's not, guys. Like, it's really great. I think it's just easier to complain, isn't it?
Well, we're talking about the things that aren't the normal everyday moments. I mean, nobody wants to hear us talk about, man, I just snuggled up on the couch and watched the best movie the other day, or like laid there for 2 hours and didn't talk to anybody. It was great. Like, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear the nice, happy little...
You think so?
I don't know.
Oh.
I mean...
That's fair.
I spent a lot of time chasing my cat around, but I really don't know how to tell people that in a way that sounds entertaining.
That's not a cat.
He is a cat.
No, he is a skinwalker. That cat is massive.
Yeah.
Like, I looked at his paws the other day when he was cuddling up next to me, and I looked at Sushi's paws, my cat.
Your cat's not even a year old.
I know, but like, I figured it's like dogs, right? Like, where they have big paws when they're little. Like, I'm not saying their paws stay the same size.
Right. But proportionally.
Yeah.
I don't remember Grimm's paws seeming exceptionally large. He just had that really long tail that kind of always told us he was going to be a big guy.
Yeah.
What kind of dark nightmare are you bringing to my door today?
Yes. So today we are going to talk about a small town in Japan and something that happened there.
Okay.
So we're going to take you across the world to Japan.
Ooh, exciting.
Yes. Specifically a small town called Kamo-Machi, or Kamo for short. And it's 1938, so it's a while back. One source describes it as an isolated agricultural town, not like overtly primitive. Like, they have like electricity, it's just farmland, right?
Like
it's
rural area.
Rural, very rural, yes. The village is about 23 houses and 111 people living there at the time that this takes place. So our specific focus is on a 21-year-old man named Mutsui Toi. He's one of the few people in this village with his sister and his grandmother. His parents contracted tuberculosis when he was still a toddler, and they unfortunately died from it. So that left him and his sister in the care of his grandmother. Luckily, his parents were pretty well off at the time they passed, and his grandmother had some farmland, so they didn't live too badly. Just, small town, isolated life where everyone knows everyone's business, which can be not great sometimes.
Sure, yeah.
So Mutsui did well in school. He was well liked enough by his peers. He didn't have a lot of close friendships or connections, but he wasn't like a full-on loner either. At some point in his youth, he kept getting sick and he was diagnosed with pleurisy. Do you know what that is?
I don't.
It's like an inflammation of lungs. So it can come from lots of things. It can be like bronchitis. It can be a cold. It can be tuberculosis. It can be a lot of things. But it's just like basically
like respiratory issues.
Yes, respiratory infections. So he did miss school a lot because of it, which didn't really help with, making friendships and relationships.
Sure.
So an interesting note about this village, it is said in some sources that this village was engaged in the practice of yobai, or night crawling.
What is this?
So this was where men or women would sneak into each other's houses to have sexual relations.
Oh. I thought it was going to be more nefarious.
Yeah, no, I know. Like, they made it sound like it was like so, but I mean, I guess it was the 30s, right?
Sure.
Like, it wasn't anything that wasn't consensual. Like, it was always consensual most of the time. It was
it was just naughty
stuff arranged beforehand. Yeah. But like, so eventually, after a while of doing this, what's it called? Yobai, like they would settle down or decide to like publicly date or marry. So it was just dating, like in a small village, right? Like kids doing kid things. But I mean, it was also like adults doing it. Like there were people who were married that were doing it. So it was just,
Netflix and chill without the Netflix.
Yeah,
I guess.
Exactly. The relevance here, though, is that Matsui was believed to have been engaging in this behavior with one or more of the village women at one point or another. So it wasn't unusual for him, like, while he didn't have close friendships, like, he still was, like, having, like, relations with people in some way. But around his late teens, he started to get sick a lot more. He had a lot of problems with his lungs, leaving him just really tired, unwell, not really able to be around others because he was so sick. So it kind of made his isolation worse. And then his sister married and moved out when he was 17, which left him alone, just him and his grandmother. So as he was coming of age, he was looking more into like joining the military, as this was something that was like the thing to do for a young man in a village at this time. It would make him more attractive prospect to be able to marry and, provide for his family and, live with honor. But when he attempted to join at the age of 20, he failed his physical examination and he was informed he had tuberculosis. And this wasn't something that could be treated in 1937. And there was, the trauma of his parents having died from it when he was young. So not only could he not serve, he wouldn't be able to marry, and he was looking forward to a long, agonizing death, right? A quote from a psychopathologist, Nakamura Kazuo, I'm doing my best, states, quote, "There were not a terribly large number of lung disease sufferers in the hamlet, yet there was a strong customary social aversion to tuberculosis and leprosy. Mayor Mishima of Kamo-Machi was someone with a great passion for public health. According to Mayor Mishima, the level of disgust town people held for tuberculosis was even beyond the run-of-the-mill. They believed it to be hereditary, and when passing in front of the house of the diseased, they would even cover their mouths and noses with a handkerchief." So they were just like, they were being overly cautious, right? So he basically became a social pariah. He's getting increasingly violent. He's making unwanted sexual advances at women in his village because he's just getting real desperate. People are now not just avoiding him because he's sick, but also because he's just giving off some really creepy sexual assault type vibes.
Yeah, this is feeling a lot like Friend Zone White Knight, kind of acting out of because it's not me, it's you.
Yep, that's what it's turning into. That is spot on. And the deeper he falls into this rabbit hole, the more he starts to get paranoid that the whole town is conspiring against him.
When you make them conspire against you, they will conspire against you.
And he's kind of feeling like the whole system's rigged, and maybe he should be the one to clear the town out of all these horrible people who are, in his mind, the reason that his life isn't going so great. So pretty spot on there. Yeah.
I don't know why I just suddenly got dread because it's not like you're bringing me a happy story.
Oh, no,
where it
it's
ends
never
up-
happy. Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, it will always end in murder of some kind.
Continue.
All right. So he decides to go buy a Browning Auto 5 recoil-operated semi-automatic shotgun. In fact, he got a loan out on the house and farmland to get more weapons. So he's stockpiling weapons at this point.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So he starts going deep into the mountains during the day for target practice, and at night he prowls through his town, toting his gun and just walking around the town, creeping everyone out. Of course, freaking everyone out, especially his grandmother, who's seeing firsthand that he's becoming increasingly erratic, to the point that she catches him pouring powder into her soup one day, and she's convinced he's trying to poison her.
Well, sure.
Yeah. So she calls the police on him, claiming he tried to kill her. They search the house. They find a bunch of swords and knives and stuff that he had recently purchased. No poison powder, which he claims was just medicine, which, okay, sure. It's not suspicious at all. But yeah, so the police, they take away all of his weapons. They find and revoke his hunting license. So he can't go buy more weapons because he's truly scaring most of the town at this point. I guess perks of the small village, right? But of course, there is always that one guy who's willing to sell a weapon to someone that should not be wielding one.
Yep.
And he somehow is able to buy more weapons. So like I mentioned earlier, everyone in this town knows each other. So word around town is that one of Mitsuko's previous girlfriends, who had left to marry someone else, was going to be returning soon to visit her family.
Mm.
This seemed to be the spark that Mitsuko needed to complete his plan. Warning for everyone, things are about to get a little bit graphic. So if you don't want it, maybe skip.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to feel a lot like news we see a lot these days. So.
Yep. On May 20th, 1938, around 5 p.m., Mitsuko cuts the power to his village by severing one of their power lines. No one makes a fuss about it. They all just go about their day. Some of them don't even really use electricity. So Mitsuko, dressed in his collared school uniform with military gaiters attached to his shins and work boots on his feet, he wrapped a hachimaki headband on his head and tied a flashlight to each side of his head, which felt silly. He also had a full-length katana at his waist, 2 daggers on his side, and a 9-round shotgun. Yeah. At around 1 a.m., Mitsuko began his rampage. He started with his grandmother first and decapitated her with an axe while she slept.
Oh my god.
In the letters he left behind, he states that he killed her first so that she wouldn't have to suffer social ridicule for being the grandmother of a murderer. His next set of victims were his neighbors, where he murdered a woman and her 3 children with his shotgun. He went to the next door, shot another woman and her 2 daughters to death. And shotguns, they're not very quiet,
Nope.
so the town's starting to stir and realize something is very, very wrong. And he moves on to the next house. He killed a couple, one of their parents, a friend who came to visit, and the 5th person in this house was an old woman who survived being shot at point blank. She stated that he shot the others in the house with no remorse as they begged for their lives. And to her, he stated, quote, "I have no quarrel with your family, but then your son went ahead and married a girl from one of those other families. So now I gotta kill you."
Oh my god.
End quote. So basically the only reason they were targeted was because her son married one of the girls that had shrugged off his advances. The next house he went to, he killed a couple and their 2 daughters, with the 3rd one fleeing to a neighbor's house where the man of the house hid her under the floorboards with his own daughter. He killed the man in this house as well, while the 2 girls hiding under the floorboards survived with minimal injuries. In the following house, he killed 2 people, and in the one after that, he killed a woman and her 2 daughters, leaving the man of the house unharmed. He told the man, quote, "You never spread rumors about me. Suppose I'll give you a reprieve." End quote. Moving on to the next house, he killed a child and her grandmother. The child's father escaped and made it to the nearest police station to report what was happening in the town. Mitsuko continued on to 3 more houses and killed 7 more people, afterwards fleeing to a nearby village. He entered a random family's house at this point, soaked in blood, and calmly asked for a pen and paper. They gave it to him, and he left without harming or threatening them. And as the sun was rising, Toimitsuko climbed up to a nearby mountainside and wrote a final note to go with 2 others he had left at his home, explaining why he planned this. He stated that he did regret killing his grandmother and felt bad that he was leaving his sister to bear the brunt of the shame. He also stated that he was upset that 2 of the women that he was seeking to kill that night had escaped. And finally, he stated his main motivation was the way he had been treated after his tuberculosis diagnosis, and that those he killed deserved what had happened to them. His final words read, quote, "Already dawn is breaking. Time to die," end quote. He put his shotgun to his chest and pulled the trigger. The end to this rampage found 11 households had been broken into, 30 people were killed, 3 who were shot survived but sustained injuries and a lot of emotional trauma, I'm sure. Yeah. This was a quarter of the population of this village, but it was targeted to specific households. This real-life horror has made its way into mainstream media, with a book being written in 1949 by mystery novelist Yokomo Seishi titled The Village of 8 Graves. There are many other books, movies, even a manga, some plays that were written about this massacre as well. It was a really, really one of the biggest ones until more recently in Japan.
Yeah.
The village eventually did die out and was absorbed into a nearby town and modernized with time. Even speaking of the murders in the area was discouraged by the locals. The house that Toemitsuko lived in with his grandmother was left uninhabited for almost 80 years.
Oh, wow.
And was finally torn down in 2015. I believe it's called the Tsuyama Massacre because that's the name of the town now. But that's how it's more well known, the Tsuyama Massacre.
Well, that was really, really dark.
Short, quick, and dark. That's how I like them.
There's a lot to unpack with that. You just talk a lot about death. Do you want to talk a little more about death? Because
Always.
That's what we're going to talk about today. So are you familiar with the Victorian cult of death?
Cult of death?
Yes, that's a very dramatic way to put it.
Okay.
It's mostly the Victorian death culture, but it's been shortened to the Victorian cult of death or Victorian death cult because they were just obsessed.
Yeah, I know there was like a lot of modernization at that time, and I feel like curiosity was very sparked too. So people were doing weird things.
There's a lot of factors for sure. So we're going to dig into why they were so fixated on it, how they behaved, how they dressed, how it became such a lucrative industry. Quick note, I'll be covering Victorian England almost exclusively with a quick dip across the pond to the US. There's culturally specific death traditions and customs all over the world to explore, so we may visit some of those in other episodes.
Cool.
So before I get into it, I want to talk about the Victorian era itself and the things that were going on during the time to kind of explain, why there was such a fixation.
Mm-hmm.
Queen Victoria ruled from 1837 until her death in 1901, which is, that's an obnoxious amount of time.
Yeah.
Think of yourself in the year 2001, or for listeners who are younger than us, your parents in 2001. And then think about how far 1937 feels from that. You think, didn't your story take place in 1938?
Yeah.
Look, a lot has changed since then, right? Yeah. So from 1837 to 1901, you have quite a bit of cultural changes. We're going...
It's about 70 years, right?
Right, yeah. 60
and change.
Yes.
We can agree there.
We can agree there. So many things locally and globally change in really some unrecognizable ways over that span of time. Not all of these things I'm going to go over were prevalent the whole time period, but most were present in some form or fashion throughout. All societies have some kind of etiquette based on their commonly accepted morals and culture. The 19th century brought with it many wars, but it also was kind of the crescendo of the Industrial Revolution, like you were saying. Mm-hmm. We were getting so many new things were advancing so quickly. And this kind of led us more or less into modern times.
But there wasn't a lot of regulation too, right? Oh. Like people were dying from most random, everyday things.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, 100%, which we will get into in a sec. The middle class began to develop as larger cities created more opportunities for reliable income, and manufacturing made things that were luxuries turn into everyday items. Mm-hmm. As people would move from the cities from rural areas, they would want to make sure to fit in with the standards expected of the locals. A popular way to do this was to obtain and follow one of the many available books on etiquette. These were generally used to teach the middle class how to uphold themselves to the standard of upper class and royal court in an effort to raise their own status. I'll also note that the upper class and members of the court could bend and break these rules at will, but it would spell ruin from anybody else to mess with that.
I feel like that's a lot what I was talking about, with the Empress of Austria. Her son was basically able to murder someone and still get to do all these things, and yet the poor woman he was with,
yep.
just
rules do not apply for rich people. Everything is legal for a price. Anywho, this isn't even about that. It's about acceptable socially, right? You'll become a pariah if you don't uphold the standard, right? And I don't actually have it here, but I do have in my references, I've got a link to a specifically death etiquette guide. It's like everything you have to do, which we're going to go through.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, it's boring. It's all just text, but it's also interesting because
interesting
of
to me.
Yeah. An important factor that contributed to the fixation on death at the time was the extremely high mortality rate. So the medical body of knowledge was still expanding. There was still a lot of ailments that weren't understood. You know, you can die from a paper cut, you know?
Yeah.
Life expectancy at this time period was around 40-ish in the earlier bits, and then later up into the mid to upper 50s.
Oh, wow. I'd be like at the end of my life right now.
Me too. The child mortality rate was almost 45% from newborn to 5 years old. Death was a constant regardless of class, though the upper classes did fare slightly better. So now that I've got the historical context laid out, let's dig into the good stuff. While funeral homes were beginning to exist, they were few and far between, and the ones that existed were not the one-stop shop they are today. Most funerals took place inside the family home. When a family member passed, if in the home, they would stop all the clocks in the house or the room that they passed away in at the time of death. After this, the first thing that had to happen was to get your clothing situation settled. Men were required to wear dark suits and a black armband.
Sorry. Do you know why they would stop the clocks? Like, what was the reasoning behind it?
Most everything I saw was bad luck. It was just bad luck.
I was wondering if it was like a superstition.
Yeah. Most of everything they did was a superstition.
It's like they wouldn't go to heaven, or their soul would be trapped, or like they would be haunted, or...
I think that it was up to interpretation.
Okay.
Especially, we're going to get into the spiritualism movement and stuff here in a bit.
Fair.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So the men had to wear dark suits and a black armband. Women were required to wear black, non-reflective fabric in their dresses, black gloves, hat, parasol, etc. No jewelry unless it was jet jewelry. If the deceased was the woman's husband, she would be made to wear a black veil if she went into public to give her privacy while she grieves. Fun fact, well, maybe not fun, so fucked fact, the dyes that went into these fabrics were frequently made with toxic chemicals, including arsenic. So they have to wear this fabric for like 2 years, right? Or well, at least a year in the full black.
Yeah.
And especially with the veils, they would get sick. Their skin would get broken out. It was miserable. Other items that had to be procured immediately aside from your own mourning clothes were the coffin and the shroud. The coffin was to be the vessel that ushered the dead into the afterlife. It was also frequently a status symbol depending on how it was made. The shroud is what covered the dead. A common version of this were casket robes. They looked like normal clothing, but they were open in the back and they tied around the deceased's neck and wrists. And that was the easiest way to dress a corpse while it was in the coffin. Another fact, if you will, it was considered bad to bury someone in the clothes of someone still alive. It was feared that as the clothes decayed, the person they belonged to would also decay.
Oh.
More practically, it was also seen to be a waste to bury perfectly good clothing.
Yeah.
Other types of shrouds included simple sheets that just covered the body, and then embellished nightgown-type dresses. I saw it mentioned in a couple of places, but couldn't drill it down to the solid source, so take this one with a grain of salt, but it was said that women would often sew their own burial shrouds as part of their marriage tradition process, as it was not uncommon for women to die during childbirth.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Could you imagine getting pregnant and just being like, well, there's a chance I won't survive this?
It was really common.
It's so sad.
Yeah, it was kind of a given that it was a strong possibility that you would not make the process.
Terrifying.
We're in our mourning clothes. Our corpse is dressed to the 8.5s and is laid out in their coffin. They are now moved into the best room of the house where they are accompanied day and night by family until they are interred. A crepe wreath or sash is hung from the front door, black if the deceased is an adult, white if it's a child, to signify that the home is in mourning to any visitors that come by.
Sorry, I'm going to need to ask a question here. So how long were they in this room with a corpse?
Depending, but there always had to be somebody with them.
Yeah, but I'm thinking it's going to be days to a week, right? And they didn't have embalming at this time.
They did have embalming, but it was not widely used at this time here.
So these
That'll
people
happen
are
later.
Rotting.
Yep, we're going to get to that.
And they're barely covered.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, could you imagine the stench in that house?
And this is why flowers are common for funerals, sending flowers for the smell, which will be coming up.
Sorry.
No, but yeah, that's 100% a thing.
Yeah.
And there's yep. Don't think about decay. All reflective surfaces, such as mirrors, glass, even vases, were covered with dark cloth.
No, I know that one.
Yeah, it was feared that if a spirit saw their reflection, that they would be stuck. There was also superstitions that if you saw your reflection while in the room with the deceased, you would have bad luck.
Mm.
Interesting note, some areas had beliefs that if you touched or kissed the corpse, they wouldn't be able to haunt you.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, because it's kind of a proper goodbye, right?
Yeah.
The deceased must be accompanied, as I was mentioning, they must be accompanied by someone at all times for a few different reasons. It was important that there was always someone to greet any visitors or far-traveling family. Another purpose for this was for there to be someone there if the dead woke up. It did actually happen that people were declared dead, but were actually in a coma, and some did actually wake up while waiting for their interment. As we talked about, flowers are used. Well, today they're used as a lovely sentiment of shared grief and condolences in funerals today. In Victorian times, as we mentioned, they were used to mask the smell of decomposition.
Oh, gosh.
There was also patents for cooler coffins where, they were, built to keep the body cool. Some believed that it was best to freeze the corpse solid and then let it thaw once it's buried.
Oh, God. Condensation.
Yeah, some people just put the dead on ice. But that was people with money. Everybody else just had to work with what they had, and fragrant flowers were the frugal option. The only consistent thing I could find about food traditions were funeral cookies. These were shortbread or molasses gingerbread style type cookies stamped with some kind of a symbol like a skull or a cross or whatever. You can find some cool pictures of the different kinds of stamps they would use for these online. And they'd be wrapped in black paper or sometimes poems or Bible verses. They could be handed out at the funeral, sent as the funeral invitation, or sent as a thank you after attending the funeral. The idea of it being a funeral invitation kind of appeals to me because, when I get sad, cookies kind of help a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I think that's kind of sweet. Pun intended. Once the viewing period is over, the coffin is carried out of the home feet first to ensure that the dead could not look into the house and pull someone else's soul with them.
Oh, my gosh.
In the procession to the burial, people frequently hired mutes or professional mourners to ensure that the deceased was properly grieved and loved.
Uh-huh.
The ones that could afford it had their family members' coffins enclosed in a cage, not to prevent them from waking as vampires or zombies, but to prevent from grave robbing.
Aww.
This was such a prevalent concern at the time because the scientific movement was gaining a lot of steam.
Yeah, they needed bodies.
And the easiest, cheapest way to get them was to dig them up. Mm-hmm. So, real concern there. Photography was still fairly new at the time and was too expensive for everyone to have family photos.
Oh, God.
The expense was usually reserved for very special occasions. Death was one of the most prominent of these occasions, especially with children.
I hate these. I love old pictures, but this is the one reason I hate them. It's because you can never tell sometimes if these people are alive or dead, especially the children.
It's kind of rough. But this was a thing that people cherished and loved. It was not quite as morbid as we would feel it is today. Because, it's the only picture they'll ever have, right?
That's true.
I will say a quick warning. I am including photos in the show notes for this, but I'm only using photos of adults. Do not click the accompanying links if you want to avoid the pictures of children. Most of the death photography out there is children.
Yeah.
So don't dive into this if it's something you want to avoid. Another popular death keepsake is hair. Locks of hair would be collected and placed into lockets or woven into bracelets or other pieces of jewelry. You can still find some of these claiming to be authentic Victorian hair jewelry even on Etsy.
You know what I think is funny about that, though, is in the times before that in other cultures, hair it's used a lot for curses, or if you have someone's hair, you own them. You can do a lot with that.
Right, yeah, there's a whole theory about sympathetic magic, which is when you have an item of something that's connected to another and it being able to affect it more.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a whole episode on that too, I bet.
Yeah, no. My mom told me that was one of the reasons that she didn't like saving the baby hair or any hair, because she felt like it was an easy way for someone to put a curse on you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
My instinct was to say that's fun, but I don't think anybody else would agree with me. But I do have some picture examples here so you can see that's got the hair.
Oh, wow. They're woven, really. And the little brooch.
Yeah, and then this right here, the bracelet itself, like it's
a
actually
hair bracelet.
yes, but
Ugh.
it's crazy. You should look at those like up close.
Like they look cool, but I don't want it to touch me. Like I don't like the feeling. Nope.
So looking at all of this stuff, it's starting to add up, right? Mourning clothing for yourself and for your family, not just for the initial period, but before the burial, but for the whole mourning period. It was also bad luck to keep mourning clothes in the house when they're not needed, but people died a lot, so you were constantly having to procure new mourning clothing.
But I mean, wouldn't a shroud count as mourning clothes? No.
Nope, you're buried in that.
You're buried in it.
Yep.
Fair. So wait, you had to get like new mourning clothes every single time?
Pretty much.
Sounds expensive.
It sounds very expensive, yeah. And if you were judged so harshly if you didn't do it the way they wanted you to, right? So wives were required to dress in mourning for their husbands for over 2 years. That's a lot of crepe, which was an expensive fabric, and a lot of wearing of toxic dyes constantly. So that's neat. Men were only required to mourn for 3 months, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's super fair.
The women's mourning expectations did change over time. The first 6 months, it was the all non-reflective black fabric with no ornamentation. And then like after so long, you could implement silks again and have reflective fabrics and more dark jewelry. And then eventually you kind of go into grays and lavenders. So
ooh, pretty.
Yeah, I would totally, like I could just live in Victorian mourning clothes.
I mean, you would die in them, but yes.
Well, yes, that's true. I'll use modern dyes instead of their old toxic arsenic dyes. Because that's going to happen. Yeah. I have a cool, and also fucked up chart of when you want to click in and look on that. That's got the time period, like the expectations for mourning. Like if it's your husband or if it's like
and like what you need to wear.
And what you need to wear, what the expectation was. And for the amount of time.
Gosh.
And for anybody, like if you're a child and you're mourning a parent versus a cousin. Or,
a wife for her mother-in-law is 18 months of mourning. Oh, sorry. No, a total of 2 years of mourning for your mother-in-law. Interesting.
Yeah. So on top of all of these clothes, the coffin, the shroud, the flowers, the cloths covering the reflective surfaces, the professional mourners, the funeral cookies, the expenses involved in the actual burial, and the partridge in the pear tree. Many families went broke trying to maintain the standards. If you didn't make it clear that you missed your loved one this many dollars worth, then fuck you and your family.
Yep.
Yeah. Luckily, places like Jay's Mourning Warehouse were there with all of your funeral accessory needs.
Oh my god.
So this place, it started as just a mourning clothes shop, and then over time, it took over all except for 2 shops on this entire block on Regent Street in London. They had clothing for every stage of mourning, cheaper items for your household staff, shoes, hats, flowers, and anything else you might need. The Victorian funeral industry pretty much rivals what our wedding industry is today.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Queen Victoria mourned the death of her husband, Prince Albert, from the day he died in 1861 till the day she died in 1901. And Jay's dressed her for the entire duration. And obviously, you know, everybody wants to do what the Queen does. The royals are your Kardashians, right? So beyond the crippling expense of keeping up with the standard death and mourning etiquette, more ways to exploit the grieving began to surface.
Do you know what you just did?
No, what?
Keeping up with the Kardashians. Keeping up with it. Everybody.
Oh. Let's pretend I did it on purpose. Okay. So we talked about how photography was just starting to spread in popularity and obtainability. Spirit photography began to become popular. Spirit photography showed a ghost in the frame with living subjects, and I put bunny ears around ghosts.
It's usually like what
overexposed. Yeah, I think this is most certainly due to the photograph plates being exposed before the people come in. Here is an example. Here.
Oh, that's so creepy. I hate that.
And then there.
I don't like it.
Yeah, so it wasn't people that they already knew. Now, I will say somebody did one for Mary Todd Lincoln that had Abraham Lincoln behind her, which was actually really kind of sweet and broke my heart a little bit. But these were proven to not, this was not real. This was not actually us taking pictures of ghosts. But then also we have spiritualism, which became popular in Victorian England, most notably between the 1850s and 1880s. Basically, spiritualism was the belief that the dead could communicate with the living. This seems to have been brought out of the woodworks, because it's been around forever, but in 1848 in Hydesville, New York, where young sisters Margaret and Kate Fox claimed to have communicated with a man who had died in their house 5 years earlier. Their neighbors shared the story with others, and soon the girls were doing this for audiences and being observed for evidence of fraud. There were no initial discoveries that would give people reason to doubt their authenticity, so their popularity exploded. Many more joined the movement, and people paid good money for a chance to reach out to the loved ones they had lost. One of the sisters eventually admitted that it was all made up.
Oh, yeah. Like, wasn't there a whole thing with Houdini? Like,
Yeah. That's actually one of my references is
Yeah.
this video of a girl doing her thesis on Victorian death stuff, or no, spiritualism specifically. And she goes through all of these different main players in spiritualism. It's super fascinating. I recommend anybody watch it. Like, it's just it's a speech, but it's like really interesting.
Make sure you give me the link so I can add it.
It's in it. It's in here, yeah. And in that, she talks about Houdini and I don't remember her name. I think it's something Cranford or something. She was a spiritualist that was very prominent, and he wanted to prove her wrong. And like, it eventually got to the point where he was going to offer her $1,000 if he couldn't figure out that she was a fraud. But he did, of course, prove that she was a fraud. But then they also maybe kind of had a relationship a little bit. So it's a really interesting story.
He's like, you're a fraud, but you're kind of hot.
Right, yeah. So I don't know. It's there's a lot of fun characters and interesting players in that whole spiritualism movement. It'd be another great episode to do, I think.
I want everyone to understand how many episodes she signed herself up for.
So many episodes, so many hypothetical, theoretical episodes.
If she forgets one, please make sure to write us.
nightmarecottage@gmail.com.
And let her know that she needs to get on it.
Yeah, if I've talked about something that you actually want to hear about, totally tell me, seriously. So I have really mixed feelings about the whole situation. I first and foremost, that profiting from the grieving is slimy to begin with.
Yeah.
But instilling the false hope that they can be reached, that you can actually talk to them, it feels deranged to me.
Wrong.
Nearly all spiritualists that were challenged on their authenticity were easily exposed to be frauds. So it's fucked up. People were making money off of this. Now, conversely, this was also a largely feminist movement in a lot of ways. It's a really fucked up way of going about it, but it was a rare and new opportunity for women to work independently and make really good money.
Yeah.
No husband required. There are also ties between the spiritualist movement and the suffragette movement. So there's, maybe we wouldn't be voting if, of course, I don't know that we're going to get to do that much longer anyways. But so on one hand, disgusting exploitation of someone's grief. On the other, if I saw that as my only path to independence in that situation, would I have chosen differently? Would you?
No, I would have done it.
Yeah, I mean, considering how I figure my old age, like if I decide to go evil, I will absolutely read tarot cards in my...
Go evil?
Yeah. Well, because I just, it's exploitative. Anyways. I do want to put in a quick note that there were a lot of men spiritualists too, so that was still a part of the thing, but it was a job that you could just do. You could go and post yourself up and claim that you could do these things and make money at it.
People still do.
So there were various ways of practicing spiritualism. Spirit boards and spirit writings were popular for many that didn't have access to a spiritualist. Spirit boards were what Ouija boards are modeled after. And then spirit writing, that one actually looks pretty neat. Imagine a planchette from a Ouija board, but elevated, and it has little wheels on the little butt side. And then at the point, there's a pencil.
Okay.
And then everybody puts their fingers on it lightly like you do with a planchette over a piece of parchment. And then the spirits are supposed to write on the parchment.
Why can't they just do it themselves? Why do they need my hand to do it? It looks like a little skateboard.
Because there's rules, bitch. I don't know. Seances and possessions were things that were practiced by spiritualists. This is what you're typically going to see in pop culture. A group of people sitting around a table with a medium. It's dark, it's candlelit, they hold hands around the table, and the medium channels the spirit. The spirit will either speak to her and she will share with the group, or it will possess her and speak directly through her. There were sometimes manifestations in the form of either knocking or other sounds, or like smells, like you'd get a bloom of perfume or a smell of a certain kind of food wafting through the room. All of these methods have been exposed, like you can see how they were done. Having said that, many very notable people employed spiritualists and studied the movement. Queen Victoria, of course, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Marie and Pierre Curie, and even Thomas Edison were believers. Edison wanted to make a spirit phone so he could talk to the dead.
Yeah, I heard about that. That sounds cool.
Yeah. So the big elaborate mourning etiquette started to wane with the First World War. Death tolls were enormous. The reality of the excess made it feel less necessary. Mourning became more of a private matter to be handled as the surviving family saw fit. Today, elaborate funerals and rituals still exist.
And they're expensive.
We have our customs and traditions, and we still have holdovers from the Victorian era, like sending flowers, wearing black, performing eulogies, and to some extent hanging mourning wreaths on the door. These days, people are more uncomfortable talking about death, planning for it, or even thinking about it. But it comes for us all.
But it's a part of everyday life.
100%. Death was normalized in the Victorian culture. It was a part of the everyday life, and they leaned into it rather than avoid it. And that brought me to one of my favorite Latin phrases, memento mori. Remember that you die.
Oh, is that what that means?
That's what that means. And that's my very summarized, clipped version of Victorian death culture. I definitely recommend looking into my references if you're interested in this. I read a book. I bought a book, a physical. I don't buy physical books anymore.
It's funny. I've got an audiobook. I never buy audiobooks.
But it was really cool. And I didn't even get anywhere near as far through it as I wanted to.
Same.
Because I ordered it last week, and then here we are. But it was called The Victorian Book of the Dead by Chris Woodyard. Chris Woodyard is kind of one of the foremost experts on Victorian death history. She's got a blog that's related to this book that I very much recommend. Like articles upon articles about any Victorian death, anything you could imagine. So
I love that. That sounds really cool. The more you know.
So nightmare fuel.
Yes. So my nightmare fuel is the book that was written about the Tsuyama massacre. It was from Yoko Miso Sishi. We'll put it in the nightmare fuel thing. And it was titled The Village of Eight Graves. There was also a movie about it, which I can link on there too.
I think we should put the manga also, because that's a really...
Yeah, and I have some pictures from the manga too. But yeah, we'll include all of not all of it. There's a lot. I'll include a few of different kinds of media on there.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to make my Victorian Book of the Dead my nightmare fuel. It's so neat.
Yeah.
I don't know. I super fascinated with death culture in general, and this is one. Victorian stuff just really smacks at my aesthetic a bit, like it's definitely shaped me a bit. So is it time to cleanse palates?
Do you have a palate cleanser? I completely forgot. I
do, but much like you said another time, that I don't know how cleansing it's going to be.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going to provide some interesting facts about death.
Oh, okay. What you got?
So, did you know that just 3 days after dying, the enzymes that help break down a person's food begins to eat that person's body?
Oh.
That's part of your decomposition.
Oh, that's probably why your stomach swells the way it does.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
All the gas is getting trapped.
More people die from selfies than from shark attacks.
What?
Take that, social media.
How do you die from a selfie?
So there's people that take selfies over the edge of something and then they fall off or something. Yeah, it's just people being dumb.
Fun.
Natural deaths spike on Christmas, the day after Christmas, and on New Year's Day.
Oh.
Researchers believe junior staffing at hospitals and the tendency for people to delay treatment are the main reasons for the increase. However, suicides and homicide rates decrease during the holidays.
Oh. There's also something to be said about, it feels like, because so many times with people that have died around me, it feels like they're holding on for, a specific person, I know that sounds weird, but it's just one of those, this person came to say goodbye and they died an hour later, so that kind of thing. And I do think there's something to be said for that. For the holidays, they're oh, I just want to have one more Christmas with my family. Not to be too,
We're talking about death. We're already to whatever you were going to say.
Your nails are pretty.
Thanks. I bite them.
They don't look like you do.
There are animals that don't die. Or at least don't die
What?
from old age, including jellyfish and a kind of flatworm.
What do you mean? Jellyfish don't die?
Not from old age.
Where do they die from?
Assholes, predators,
and what else?
Bad breath. I don't know.
No, you said jellyfish and what else?
Flatworms.
Oh my gosh.
Near-death experiences seem to be caused by dopamine and oxygen deprivation.
Oh.
Oh, and we'll end with this one. Animals such as dolphins and elephants grieve the loss of a pack member and recognize it via elaborate memorial rituals.
Oh, I know whales do too, right? Because like there's been reports of like them carrying their.
Yeah, and apparently some corvids like crows do as well.
Oh.
But then it might also be seen that they're trying to figure out why the death occurred, which means it might be a murder investigation.
A murder of crows investigating. It's fantastic.
That's horrible. Let's end it with that. Thanks, everybody.
So here we are. Reached the end of our episode. Y'all have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams.
If you have topic requests, book or movie recommendations, or just want to say hi, email us at nightmarecottage@gmail.com or visit our website at nightmarecottage.com. Sweet dreams.
Bye-bye.